The actual icon?
No.
Great day, everyone. Chris Gonzalez here on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. I have a special guest with me today. His name is Max Zanan. Before I allow him to introduce himself, I just want to say I'm super excited about this because every time Max and I speak, we just share so many common interests and goals and strategies and beliefs. And I think today is going to be a super impactful show. You're going to get some insight to what's going on in the world. And, we're all feeling it at all levels. And the number one question we have today is, will your business model survive COVID-19, right? And I almost hate that little phrase, COVID-19. It's just like COVID-19, coronavirus. I'm sick of hearing it, sick of talking about it, but it is just, it's here. And you know what? Unfortunately, I think it's here to stay. So without further ado, I got Mr. Max Zanan. How you doing, my man?
Another day in paradise, in COVID paradise. So, Chris, thank you for having me. And, I'm thrilled to be here because I think we need to cover a lot of important topics. The world is changing right in front of our eyes, regardless of what industry you're in. And car business is not going to be immune to these changes.
I can't agree with you more. What I keep playing in my head is what we thought was going to happen in 3 to 5 years, right? And what we've been talking about for 10 is here right now. And I'm so convinced that nobody is prepared for it. Correct. And there have been some major takeaways for me personally. But what I want to emphasize is there is going to be a major shift in money. And we could continue and elaborate on that. But, those wealthy people and those business owners that were in business, there is a new entrepreneur. There is a new person out there that is doing different things in this time. There are new millionaires being formed. And I believe this was the perfect time for them. And it's going to be, for some, it's going to be the extinction of the old business model. So, yeah, I can't agree with you more, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there were two holdouts when it comes to digital retail, right? It was car dealers and real estate, because everything else you can get online. Mm-hmm. So now, like you said, whatever we were expecting to take place in 3 to 5 years has to happen now. And if it doesn't happen, I'm honestly not sure if dealers can go back to normal, because that normal, whatever that normal is not coming back.
The question is, what is normal? I mean, what we used to do every single day, how we operated, how we interacted, where we went, the time we spent out of home, the time we spent interacting with other people. They say it takes 25 to 30 days to create a habit. We've reshaped the world right now. I mean, just our thought process, our activity, our day-to-day. I mean, I find myself going to bed, sometimes never, right? It was yesterday morning, it was 5 a.m. You can go to my story and I asked the question, did I just wake up or have I not slept yet? And the truth was I hadn't slept yet because I am just so immersed in this digital space because I see so much opportunity. And it's one of the main things I want to talk about today. But 1,000%, man, there's no normal. There's a new standard.
Right. And I think the best takeaway for me is that this is an opportunity for dealers to reshape their business model and actually become profitable, right? Because before coronavirus, right, we all know that there's no money selling new cars, right? The margins are non-existent, and people are either chasing the factory money and destroying the customer experience, or they're just chasing, their egos just to be number one at any cost, and it doesn't matter if they make or lose money. Now, when I go to Amazon, right, I promise you, that I'm not getting the best deal possible on anything I'm buying from Amazon, whether it's a T-shirt, vitamins, paper towels, doesn't matter, right? But I'm paying for convenience and I'm paying for transparency, right? And I've been saying it all along before the virus. but it always falls on deaf ears because it's hard to change your process. It's hard to change your behavior that you've been following for almost 100 years. So now, all of a sudden, dealers have this incredible opportunity to completely change the way they do business and actually make money selling cars. Because people, listen, here's a perfect example. As a consumer, will you be willing to go to the showroom, right? Let's walk through the process. Go to the showroom, say hello to the receptionist, get introduced to a salesperson, do a test drive, suffer through a walk around, speak to the finance manager, speak to the delivery coordinator, and also be surrounded by other dealership employees and customers. Will you be willing to take that risk, whether perceived or real? Will you be risking an infection and spend 6 hours in a dealership to get spotted? And I think the answer is absolutely not. Right? So if you can sell me a car online, I will pay for convenience, not to go anywhere.
Max, you know what has stopped that through the years is you have that old school business model that says, hey, you know what? Not everyone, we still have to do it this way. And I don't like to name drop in any way, but Brian Benstock probably explained this the best. He was asked, he did a business leadership course, and he was asked to recreate the shopping cart. And his analogy, just like, I was like, holy shit, right? Exactly. He goes, you go to a supermarket, you load the shopping cart, right? You get to the cash register, you unload the shopping cart, you pay for your groceries, you load back the shopping cart, you go out to your car, you unload the shopping cart, you drive to your house, you unload the shopping cart. And it was like, what if the redesign of the shopping cart was its elimination? And that is so close to reality that I don't even understand why we still have processes the way we process. I mean, imagine this. If you were an Uber and Lyft driver, right? There's no one in the city taking Uber and Lyft, like very few. You have tons of drivers that are out of work. However, they can now deliver Uber Eats, right? They can deliver food. There is an alternative revenue stream for this type of business model. Where are your yellow tabs? Where are the yellow cabs? Gone, right? Taxis, medallions, millions of dollars. What are they worth now? Absolutely nothing. Brick and mortar is seeing a huge change. And talk about real estate in New York City. I read an article. It's down 60% prior to the pandemic. Can you imagine what it's going to be in the next couple of months when big retailers and big corporations like Goldman Sachs say, hey, I don't need to employ all these people at my location. I could have them all work remotely because that worked for me for the past. How did I reduce my overhead? How did I add more to my bottom line? How did I survive? I don't have to be in New York anymore. It's just, and I'm sure, and I know you have opinions on this as well, but it's just crazy.
Right. So I think there are two realities, right? There'll be a New York reality and there'll be the rest of the state's reality. Because if you live in New Mexico, if you live in Oregon, right? Luckily for those states, the virus was not as bad, and the number of cases is not as high, and ultimately the number of deaths is not as high. So these people, I think will be able to go back to more or less normal life. Whereas in New York, we are the hotspot, right? And our behavior is going to be altered for a very long time.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm a New Yorker, and I love going out for dinner. I think one of the appeals of New York, right, is access to all the food, right? You can have Italian, you can have French, you have German. I mean, any type of food, anytime, anywhere. And I don't care if the president opens New York or the governor or the mayor, right? If they open New York today, I am not going out for dinner. Right? Because again, there's perceived fear that I will get sick. And that fear, is much higher, I think, for people that live in New York than for people that live in Oregon. So the same thing, maybe in Oregon, right, I do go back to a car dealership to buy a car. But in New York, I don't think so. So in New York, you absolutely must offer digital tools or some kind of a transparency. The same thing that leasing companies are doing for years.
Right.
And if dealer's not going to do it, the leasing companies are going to eat their lunch.
Right. So let's talk about that for a second. I broker cars, right? I like to say here and there, but that's what I do. And what do I do as a broker? I handle a phone call. I handle an internet lead. I handle a social platform request, right, for a vehicle. And I know where to go. I know how to price the car. I know how to be transparent. I know how to acquire the vehicle source it from a dealership. I am right now calling dealerships, right, who claim to be open, who claim to be offering a digital process, who claim to be working remotely, and you can't get anyone on the phone. You ask yourself, are these people that busy, right? So you make an appearance and you go there and it's a ghost town. You got managers sitting behind a desk doing absolutely nothing, right? And you have a conversation with them. Hey, you guys doing business? Oh, no, it's quiet. It sucks. I don't even know why we're open. It's just like this old school, like wake up, smell the coffee and make something happen. You talk about all the change, but what's going to happen? What is everybody waiting for in the next 4 to 6 weeks when we claim to open things back up? Do you believe your business is going to have an up bus that is just going to drop loads of customers off at your dealership? Do you believe that there's that much pent up buying that people are going to start running to the dealership to come and get your product? I mean, no, I don't think I'll ever go to a movie theater again because it grosses me out. It grossed me out before this. How do I feel now? I have trouble flying. How do you think I'm going to, react to flying in the future when you're in this small plane, breathing all this air? We don't know what we're dealing with right now. So there is a huge shift, and people are in store for a rude awakening because they're delusional.
Well, I think, this is, we've never been through anything like that, right? Because this is different from the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, because in those times, demand went down, but the dealerships were open, right? So some of them survived, some of them didn't, but at least the process was the same. Your goal was to sell cars and as many as you could. Now, everybody is closed, meaning that not just dealers, but most employers, right? And a lot of people are either let go or furloughed. And in the time of uncertainty, the first thing people do, they delay a major purchase. It doesn't matter what the purchase is, and everybody defines a major purchase in their own way. Some people, buying $1,000 item is a major purchase. For others, it's a house or a car. So if I am in the market to buy a car and times are uncertain because we don't know, right? And don't believe anybody who says they know. I don't think anybody knows what the future holds. And if we come out swinging in 4 to 6 weeks, but then there's a second wave in October or December, right? And people get, again, quarantined and furloughed or let go, we're going to delay our major purchases. And we're not going to buy cars, or we're going to downgrade.
Absolutely.
So because I'm on the lockdown in my house, I have nothing but time, right? And just as an experiment, I go to different websites of dealers to see their digital retail. And this thing is a joke. Absolute joke. I go to, again, I don't want to name drop.
But say that. What is a joke is, if you want a price, put in your information, right?
Correct.
And there's a saying, it's called, it's real simple. Go walk up to an oven and ask for heat and then add the wood. Does it happen that way? No. It's like the customer's got to jump through hoops in order to get something as simple as a price. But before you move forward, right, you speak about, you and going to a restaurant and normal. There is no such thing as normal. There are more people cooking at home, spending time with their family, learning that they could actually save money and they don't have to go out and spend, right? These are habits, right? That took years to form, that I believe were just broken over the past 45 days and now possibly 60 or 75, right? So there's no such thing as normal. People are simply going to do things differently, right? And I think, there's no right or wrong answer to this. I think the point of it is you have to prepare for what you don't understand. We didn't understand this virus. Here we are. We're not going to understand how to come out of this and what is to come. So what are our greatest takeaways?
Right. So the takeaway is our ability to adapt and change behavior. And it's really, really hard, And again, a lot of dealers have been doing business the same way for almost 100 years. I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and they put up a quote, a word track that you're supposed to learn when you work for a Chevy dealership. And the word track is about appraising a trade-in. Mm-hmm. And then, the person said, guess when this word track was written, right? And the answer is 1926.
Yeah.
And it's still being used by GM stores in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 94 years of not changing a word track.
Right. I mean, that forget about a pay plan, a process, right? Employees, innovation, right? So many different things. So for those of you who are just joining, I have with me Max Zanan. He is the author and writer of The Perfect Dealership, which I couldn't find. I do have it. I ordered it, obviously. Very, very informative. But he is also the author and writer of The Art and Science of Running a Car Dealership, right? So these are two books that you can go on Amazon, right? We can go on Amazon and order these books, right, Max?
Yes,
very,
sir.
Very cheap. It's a very, very short read, right? I'm not a big reader. I prefer audio book, but it's also available in audio form for those of you who are like me. I used to blame it on being in the car, right? And I just had time, so I couldn't read what I was. But the truth is, I don't like reading, right? I still do that even right now. But great source of information, can give you some insight into what people, the most successful strategies people are using and have used in the past to make their processes and their dealerships that much better. I want to put a few comments up on the screen here. Chris Richter, thank you very much. Internet managers, sales managers, Mannheim, a hole in F&I, delivery clerks, 35 years of service. I'm done. I sense your frustration. Here's what I could say. The dynamic and what you do for a living and your job role and your description just has to change, right? It's not going to be that different. It's going to be pretty much the same. You just going to do it on different platforms in a slightly different way, right? Look at Amazon, perfect example. They still sell, they still F&I, they still upsell, right? They still deliver, they still focus on retention and customer satisfaction. They're still acquiring other businesses, right, to put under their umbrella. It's all the same things. It's just being done digitally. So don't totally give up with that. We had another one here. Hold on one second. Chris Richter says he agrees. We had George Vafius. So hold on. George Vafius says, sorry, guys, but once there is a vaccine, we will get back to normal, trying to get the customers into the showroom, get them in the box, etc. Can't keep making no money on cars because you won't have a seamless transaction. So you want to touch on that? You maybe respond. Thank you, George, for your feedback.
So yeah, George, one thing I'm going to say is that I don't disagree with you. I strongly disagree with you, right? Because there's a flu vaccine that's available and over half of the population doesn't take it, right? And same is going to happen with this vaccine. And here's a hypothetical. If vaccine is available today, would you take it? And if you're being honest with yourself, the answer is a hard no. Right? Because it's too soon. Nobody knows how it's going to interact with your body, right? And I hope you guys know that you cannot sue a pharmaceutical company for malpractice that produces the vaccine, right? So there's no gain here for you, right? So vaccine is not the answer. The answer is treatment and cure, right? And it's 2020 and we still don't have treatment for AIDS, right? So it doesn't mean that this treatment will be developed, in the next 6 or 12 months, right? So we're not going back to normal in New York for sure, right? And now I want to go back to my original point that this is the opportunity to make money selling cars. Because, yes, if you're in a mind that, this is giveaway motors and it's the race to the bottom and come to the showroom, you're going to get a better deal. This is a fantasy. I promise you that people will pay extra not to go to the showroom, to get their car delivered. And again, just look at the broker business in New York City. Brokers make a lot of money selling cars, being transparent, because customers are willing to pay more not to deal with the BS that takes place in the showroom.
All right. We got another one here. We got Liz Polanco. Thanks for joining. So how should trade-ins work at a time like this? So once again, from a digital standpoint, and I personally do this. If I have a client that has a trade-in, I send them a diagram, first of all, which I'll be happy to share with anyone. Certain angles. We've all had cars appraised. We know the angles that the appraisers take when they take pictures of vehicles. Odometer. If there's any damage, I ask the customer to take pictures of the damage, full transparent, show me what it is. If there's anything wrong with the vehicle, let us know up front, because we don't want that number to change. I can digitally give anyone a value of a vehicle in a matter of seconds, right? But let's call it 2 minutes. I can put that car into vAuto, get an idea of what the car is selling for. Based on the photos, I can make a decision of what I would pay for that car. If I wind up getting to the location, or that vehicle comes into the store or wherever it's being delivered, and it's not what we saw, obviously that would change. But a real simple process that could be implemented. Auto Trader Marketplace does the same process.
Yep.
Right. And their deal is that sign up to get their leads every single day. Right. And they buy cars that way. But that's how the auctions buy cars. That's how dealerships buy cars from auctions. They run a car through a simulcast webcam. You see the car come in. You could see the CR report, what the damage is, what they assess the damage is. If there's anything wrong, there's a light system. If it's a green light, yellow light, red light means it doesn't run. Green light, it's good to go. Yellow, there might be some issues, right? People know what they're buying, right? We can get that information from our consumers. And I think it's super important not just to hear this, but to actually try to implement it in what you're doing. So if you're right now in a dealership and you're cold calling, or try having them send the information over as if you're going to work this customer A through Z over the phone or over the internet, and deliver your first car. That's going to be your truth and your confidence that it could be done. Now, second car is going to be easier. Third car, fourth car, fifth car. Before you know it, a salesperson goes from 15 to 20 cars a month to 30 to 40 cars a month using a headset, working remotely, right? And all he has, I get a vehicle, I send it to my service department preps the car, they let me know when the car's done, they send me a message back, I schedule delivery with my client, I send a driver to pick it up, I deliver it to the house, they bring me back the paperwork. As quickly as I said that is exactly how it works. And it could work like that in a dealership, right? Look at Domino's Pizza, right? And I use them as an example because my daughter is like obsessed with ordering Domino's Pizza. She actually can watch it go into the oven. She could watch, hey, the cheese is being put on. The pepperonis are being put on. Your pizza just went into the oven. Your pizza's almost done. Your pizza just got boxed. Your pizza just left for delivery. Your delivery guy is downstairs. It's such a simple process. You're talking about a huge corporation that sells and delivers a lot more product than your dealership, right? So why can't it be done? Is it because the car is bigger than the pizza, or is it because the thought is bigger than you can imagine?
Right. And listen, I was on the phone with a dealer who has been very successful with digital retail prior to coronavirus. And this is how they appraise cars. They tell the customer to go to their website and look at the used car inventory on their website and see that each car has 40 pictures. And they ask the customer to take the same pictures of their car as the dealership takes of theirs. And he also says from many years of experience, right, that customers are brutally honest about the quality of their trade-in, especially when you ask them to take 40 pictures. What do you think you're going to miss?
Right, nothing.
Nothing. Chris, I can't tell you that my car is in impeccable condition, right, and send you 40 pictures of an abused hoopty, right? It doesn't jive. So yes, you can appraise cars. It's not the end of the world. I mean, Carvana does it just based on the plate number.
So we got Stan Scher. Stan Scher, thanks for joining. It's simple. BDC is about to make a deal now, and not just making appointments. Customers are trying to make offers and negotiate, work the deal, get a commitment. 1,000%, and I believe you just experienced this going back about 3 weeks. You saw a vehicle that you wanted, a Toyota. I forgot what it was, that little 2-door one, right? Which I want to see you driving, by the way. And you couldn't get anyone on the phone, and it took them almost 2 days to get back to you. You wind up buying the car, but once again, you being in the business, you disclosed that, and you couldn't get the transparency. You couldn't get the attention, right? So how do consumers feel? And I think one of the reasons why we're speaking about this is because you really, really have to adapt to the time. Don't think the times are going to change back to what they were, because it's just not going to happen, right? It's called evolution. It's called, right, here's the level, and here's where you need to be now in order to do business. If you're not, like, if you don't know how to use a cell phone in this day and age, you're done, right? Because the oldest person in the room can use a cell phone. If you don't know how to snap a photo and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any platforms, you're in trouble, right? You're in real trouble. And if that's you, please reach out to me. I'll help you. But these are just some very basic things that you just can't watch anymore. You actually have to start implementing. So thank you, Stan Scher. We also got one more here. We got so Ali says, one car out since shutdown, too much competition on remote sales. Wow. So Ali is at a Lexus store in New Jersey. I believe you're fishing in the wrong pond, and I'll say that openly, right? So, you might be in your database trying to cold call people, and I think cold calling anyone is a bad idea. It's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Instead, you should be calling these people to find out how they're doing, how their family is, right? And if they need anything, absolutely anything at all, if their car needs service, you would be willing to go to their house, pick it up, and bring it to the dealership. I promise you, if you said that to 10 customers, 9 customers would say, no, that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate. Maybe 1 might take you up on it. But out of the 9 people, including the 10, right? Out of those 10 people, you will have built such an amazing relationship that when that customer is ready to purchase a car, they're going to remember one thing. They're going to remember that Ali called them just to see how they were doing during the coronavirus, during the pandemic. And right now is the perfect time to build relationships.
So I want to address both things. First with Stan, right? So if you look at the dealership setup before the virus, you almost want to say that the sales department was superior to the BDC department, right? And it is the reason for that is because we needed to bring people in, right? That was the business model. So the salespeople is the hero because he finally sells the car to the customer in the showroom. Now, the reality is that if you look at Carvana, right? Carvana is a BDC department with a website. That's all it is, because there's no showroom. So now in this environment, right, you have to become a BDC department. You have to rebrand your sales department and take pride in becoming a BDC employee. Right? And as a BDC employee, your job is not to sell appointments anymore. Your job is to do a deal from A to Z. That means that you need to be trained on how to use Reynolds, or CDK or any other DMS that you're using. You need to be trained on understanding all manufacturers' programs. You need to know how to structure your lease, how to structure, a finance. So your BDC department is your entire dealership. It's the salespeople, sales managers, finance managers doing a complete deal remotely.
Yeah.
So I think BDC is the future, and you have to compensate people accordingly. You can't pay, $40,000-$50,000 a year to a BDC employee and expect a miracle, right? It just doesn't work like that. Now, to the point that Ali made, I think a lot of it also has to do with the website. So I don't know what dealership he works in, but if I'm almost sure that if you go to that dealership and you want to find out how much is that Lexus, right? It's going to say click to buy, and it's going to be 2 clicks to nowhere, right? It's going to be 2 clicks to fill out your name and phone, and you'll never know the price, right? So a lot of it has to do with the way the dealership website is set up. Right. So I have 2 websites open. I'm not going to name names, but there's 2 Toyota dealerships in Pennsylvania. For some reason, one Toyota dealership tells me how much is the car, right? I can just see it. While another Toyota dealership 15 miles away says, click here to unlock the price. And when I click there, I don't get to unlock anything. They're asking for my name, email, and a phone number. So look at it from the consumer perspective. Where do I go?
Look at the comment up there. Look at the comment up there, and I have a strategy for this, right? Ali says customers are calling for very aggressive deals because they think we are stuck with our inventory. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You have people that are seeking deals, right? But the truth of the matter is, right, it's like you have to explain to them what it retails for before you present what they could actually get it for now, right? This is not someone who is consumers purchasing vehicles do not trade stock. And I say trade stock because they're not tracking what the car was 6 months ago versus what it is now. Simple, right? So it's all about you, how you deliver pricing. This car retailed for $699 a month prior to the pandemic. Right now, you could lease it for $499, $599, $650. It's all in the presentation. And I want to say one more thing because it seems that we have a few sales reps that are on our feed. So I want to give them a little pointer here. Number one, if you made a phone call, how many people do you get in touch with? 1, right? If you posted a pic on your social platforms, how many will see it? Maybe 30, 100, right? But if you created a video, a 60-second video is the equivalent to 1.2 million text words, right? So what you have to start doing now is taking out your phone and saying, hey, this is Chris from ABC Motors. I'm just wanted to let everyone know I'm currently open and here to help you in any way we possibly can. Also, our service facility is open. Explain what you are. Stop trying to sell and start trying to provide value. And it's the old boxing metaphor, right? Like everyone knows a boxer's strongest punch is a cross or a hook, right? But what is the boxer's most common punch? It's a jab, jab, jab. It's to kind of feel things out. And then boom, boom, that punch comes in. You got to use the jab, jab, cross method. We're going right to the cross, striking out. Now we're tired and it doesn't work all of a sudden, right? It goes back to changing your strategy.
And also, Chris, Ali makes a good point. Yes, customers are looking for aggressive deals because if you were a customer, you would be doing the same. You can't blame them for it, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, there is some truth to it, meaning that a brand new 2020 Lexus is going to remain a brand new 2020 Lexus for the rest of the year. But the used car inventory that all dealers are sitting on is a depreciating asset, and it's depreciating at an accelerated rate. So there's an expression that your first loss is your best loss. And if I'm a dealer principal and I have a chance to unload used cars and even lose a little bit of money, I think you should do that because that property, that piece of metal is only going to depreciate. And the amount of cars out there depreciating is absolutely staggering, because once banks go back to normal and they start curtailing dealers, right? If you're sitting on this used car inventory that you cannot get rid of, you're going to suffer because your cash flow is going to be completely destroyed by these curtailments.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in this time, you might as well get rid of some used cars. And if, and this is a big if, right? If there will be cash for clunkers of any kind
Mm-hmm.
to promote new car sales, it will completely crush used car values.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Listen, you have companies out there already offering 0% financing for 84 months. So people are stepping up. They're offering deferred payment for 90 days. There are tons of deals, right? You got to move past that and get to the person that needs your product or services. You know, we're too busy wasting our time trying to sell to the wrong people, that we need to focus on who does.
Also, you know, to the point, right? So you mentioned zero APR in 84 months. Again, if I am worried about being fired or let go because of the crisis, I would not be able to make the car payment at zero APR for 84 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that approach, and that approach is being taken by GM, by Ford and Chrysler, is actually addressing people's concerns. I think we have to take a lesson from Hyundai, right? And Hyundai pioneered the Hyundai Assurance Program in 2009 during the Great Recession, where they said, hey guys, if you buy a car and you have a life-changing event, you get fired, you lose your job, we will take the car back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what allowed Hyundai to grab market share back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Hyundai again is out with the same program, because this program only makes sense during a time of hardship.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make it known to the people that are in automotive, right, that either know me or don't know me. You know, I do sell F&I products for a living, right, because you can't retire writing books. So I have a product which is the same product as Hyundai Assurance, but you brand it to the dealership, and you allow people to overcome the fear that they have, because the fear is that I'm going to lose my job and not going to be able to pay for the car. That's the fear that needs to be addressed. You need to have a walk-away program, right, to sell cars. It's going to make it so much easier. So listen, you know, I don't want to turn it into a shameless self-promotion, but I think, guys, reach out to me when we've done here, and I'll set you up with this walkaway program, because that I think is what's going to make a difference in the customer's mind.
Yeah, great, absolutely. And I want you to elaborate on those things, and I also want to, Max, in your professional opinion, what do you believe customers are going to be looking for when things do open up, right? And we spoke about this yesterday, and there are three things that I want you to tell our viewers about.
Right. So three things that we spoke about yesterday is in addition to this thing that gives you the ability to walk away, right? So the first thing is that people will be looking not to go to a car dealership, right? They will be looking for a digital experience. And I think if we're really being honest with ourselves, right? Before the virus, this digital experience was taking place on Carvana's website, on Vroom's website. And I think Carvana sold, you know, almost 180,000 cars last year. And that's a proof of concept that 180,000 people were willing to take that step and buy the car online. And we all know, right, that Carvana's prices are not the best, but people are willing to pay for convenience and transparency. The second thing I think that people will want is to have their car sanitized. And this is the new reality, right? Before, we probably cared more about the detail and the armor roll on the tires when we're picking up our new car. You know, now I think we want it to be sanitized, again, just to reduce the risk of getting infected. And finally, we also don't want to go as customers or consumers to the dealership for service. We want pickup and delivery, and that delivery needs to be also done after the car is sanitized after being worked on in the service department. So these are the three things that we need to do. And again, you mentioned Brian Benstock, right? He has been doing pickup and delivery for his service department for over 2 years. And he talks about it all the time, right? We all know about it. It's not top secret. Not a single dealer in 5 boroughs before the virus was willing to do what Brian Benstock was doing. And everybody had an excuse, right? Well, he's in Queens. He's Brian Benstock. This is a Honda. No matter, it's all bullshit, guys.
You know what his you know what he do you know what his strategy was? It's simple, right? And it's every business struggles with this. So businesses want to go up, right? But the taller and the higher something gets, the more probability it is to do what? Topple over, right? So what he said was, I need to go broad, right? And where do you go broad? So, I mean, I don't know how many ROs he does, but he's got to do 6,000 repair orders in his service department on any given month, probably a lot more than that. He sells 500 cars a month, so he probably does 10,000 active service clients in his service drive every single month versus 5,000 cars being sold, right? So where do you want to focus? He said, you know what? I'm going to go to my most populated database service and go broad. Now that he's gone broad, he's already put the process in place. He's in the perfect position to continue to go up, right? Because once again, I mean, look.
Listen, the problem is that people are not rational, right? Because, again, look at Brian Benstock, right? He tells everybody how he does it, right? There's no secret, right? He tells you how he does it. He also tells you that the dollars per repair order doubled on pickup and delivery compared to the waiter, right? He even shows you his financial statement, right? So it's full disclosure. I'm not telling you anything that you cannot ask him directly. Right. So any rational person, especially, in 5 boroughs, should take a note, right? And say, wow, this guy is doing $600 per repair order on pickup and delivery, and I'm doing $290 on my waiters. Maybe I should try that, right? That's a rational way of thinking. But here's the ultimate proof that car dealers are not rational people, right? Not a single, and I mean it, not a single car dealer in 5 boroughs before the virus was offering pickup and delivery, period. Not a single Honda dealer, not a single Lexus dealer, not a single Mercedes dealer, right? Everybody had an excuse of why not to do it. Right.
So we have a comment here from Miguel. Good to see BDCs finally getting the appreciation they deserve. Look, in my opinion, and in my stores, BDCs always got the appreciation they deserved because they are the major artery of the store, meaning every single opportunity originates in that department, whether it be phone call, internet lead, retention-based, all come from that same department. The issues BDCs have had is with their sales department and the friction, because we don't want them to know everything before they come in, right? And that business model is over. I mean, to Max's point when we started this was, we're not saving money going to Amazon. We are spending money on saving time and it being efficient. Like, I can order something on Amazon and have it delivered today or by tomorrow. So I'm focused on prime, transparency, customer satisfaction. If my order's delayed, I'm on the phone with Amazon, I'm getting a gift card, or I'm getting the item returned, or I'm getting the item for free. It's just customer satisfaction. And so you have to adapt some of what these people are doing and say, look, you know what? It's working for someone. Why isn't it working for me? And start looking at your staff. Start looking at yourself. It's leadership. And everyone wants to always blame it on someone else. So my question for that person would be, what are you doing to help facilitate this? What are you doing at any level to get people on board? It's your business too.
Right. And again, before the virus, the economy was really pumping, and car dealers were selling cars and it wasn't as urgent, right? You could say, well, yeah, Brian Benstock is doing pickup and delivery. Good for him, but I'm still selling 500 cars in my service department. It closes at 8 o'clock at night, I'm good. Don't bother me with this nonsense. But I think once we reopen, it's a new reality, and you're not going back to 500 cars a month, because there are 22 million people unemployed.
Right.
Right. These people are car buyers. They're not magically going to get off unemployment.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you have to maximize every opportunity.
Yeah.
And also with technicians, right? As a technician, wouldn't you want to work the night shift now where there's less interaction with customers?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I mean, and think about this for a second, right? You have more lifts. I would pull 2-3 cars into the drive and work on all 2-3 at the same time. The oil's draining on this one. I'm pulling the tires on that one. Right now is the time to work on efficiency and think about, what, if someone didn't walk into your business, what would you do next? Unemployment. Some people are home right now making more money than they did when they worked. That is a big problem, right? 6 months of it, and what you're reconditioning people. People are just sitting around waiting for what? It's time to start acquiring new skills and strategies so that when we do get out of this, you're in a better position. We got Sancho said, yes, I'm thinking the same thing, Max. We also have Chris Richter. Chris, you're on a ball today. Management created friction. A good salesperson can run rings around BDC. Here's what I would also say. Don't get caught up on titles, right? Your position has to be redefined. Your responsibility.
Everybody is a BDC employee now. Everybody.
Right.
Everybody.
If I was a general sales manager in a store, I would be sitting in the middle of my BDC department, and I would be listening just like I would on my showroom floor to every opportunity that walked through those digital doors. That phone, that internet, what question, what can I answer? TO the deal. They have a trade. Send us photos. Let's appraise it. Get the deal to F&I. He's sitting right next to us. Get it submitted. Structure it. Get them on the phone with them. Send a digital menu over. All of this stuff can be done, but you have to have the head for it, right? You have to understand that things may not go back. And when they open up, you want to be in a different position.
Right. I agree. And another thing unrelated to the actual, virus, but this is very simple. A lot of dealers neglected IT. And without a strong, infrastructure, computers, you cannot sell cars remotely. Right. So when the virus happened, I know a lot of dealers where their finance managers couldn't even log into Dealer Track from their phone.
I can't remember my password. I can't do this. Can you send an email? I don't know how. Email the docs over to the bank. I don't know how. Can you do it for me? Here, I'm gonna say one other thing, right? So businesses right now have an opportunity to really employ their best people and get rid of those people who fail to adapt, those system breakers, those people who can't help your consumer anymore. Now's your opportunity to push that aside and employ who you want to work with, your best players. Because if you're a store that did 500 and you're going to do 250 now, I'd rather get those 250 in front of my best people, because those best people are going to get my referrals up. They're going to get my retention up. They're going to build that solid foundation.
I'll give you a perfect example. So my daughter is an executive recruiter. Mm-hmm. And I thought that she was going to get let go or furloughed, right? Because the world came to an end. In reality, she has never been busier, mm-hmm. right? So she recruits for the banking industry. Mm-hmm. And this is what the banks are doing. Like Chris just said, they basically had an excuse to let go of people that were not up to par. Mm-hmm. And now they have an opportunity to find superstars, mm-hmm. right? And create an amazing team of people that are willing and able, to go in the new direction. And the same goes for car business, right? This is an incredible opportunity to get rid of dead wood. right? And everybody is on the market, right? And you can find superstars that truly care about the business. And not just as salespeople, as managers, as technicians, right? You can create a new culture. You can really reshape the business.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one in a lifetime opportunity. And if you choose to go back to the way you did business, let's say prior to March, then shame on you. Shame on you, because you're not going to survive.
And if you think that this is not your responsibility, I want to bring you into a new reality. Most businesses, right? So I don't even only want to talk about the auto industry, but that's the industry we're in. But most businesses right now are all filing for these additional monies, right, that are available. But those funds that are being loaned to these businesses are based upon production prior to the pandemic. So let's go back to that dealer doing 500 cars. How much income was coming in? What was their payroll? What was the overhead? What were their expenses, right? Those loans are being based on those dollar figures. If you don't come in with a new strategy and a new skill to help that business grow, those stores, those businesses won't be able to pay back these loans in the 8 weeks that are required in order for it to be forgiveness. So your business is about to take on debt against debt, right? Business kind of sucked coming into this. It absolutely sucks right now. What do you think it's going to be when you come back? So if you don't think you're responsible, you are 100% responsible, and you have to take action, right? You have to acquire new skills and create and bring a new skill into your business. It's going to be your responsibility. I promise you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, listen, I think at the end of the day, what Carvana is doing is really hard, right? Because it's really hard to sell a used car online. But a new car, it really is a commodity, and a Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord, right? They're the same brand new, whether I get it from dealership in New York or a dealership in New Jersey or in Pennsylvania, right? So at the very minimum, right, start with selling new cars online.
Mm-hmm.
Again, people have this perception that selling online means no profit, and that is not true. And again, Carvana is the living proof. They are hovering around $3,000 per car. And these are incredible numbers, considering that there's full disclosure, right? So it can be done. And I think now people more than ever are looking to buy cars online, and it's a commodity, and stop fooling yourself thinking that people enjoy coming to the showroom and they're like haggling. Every time I read an article that there's some kind of a stupid survey that says that customers enjoy haggling, I can't believe what I'm reading. This is such nonsense.
Yeah. The customers don't negotiate. Customers, if they feel comfortable with you and they feel it's fair, right, and you treat them with respect, they'll buy from you, right? Your consumers are trading their money for your product and services, right? If they're not buying from you, it's because they don't trust you, they don't believe you, right? And you're not providing them with enough service. Go back to basics. It's really, really simple. Big Amazon is great at this, right? There's so much value, so much support, and the fact that you could buy anything there, it's a one-stop shop, right? And I hate to continue to speak about that business model, but I don't know anyone who is on this live or who has watched this video that doesn't purchase from Amazon, right? It's just the future. It's here. It's the past, actually.
Right. So here's
Stan Scher says there's too much dead wood in the business. Take away the politics and nonsense to start focusing on success. Absolutely, Stan. Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, but look at it this way. Let's say we reopen tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many dealers actually have a written down process, right, on how they're going to sell cars tomorrow? How are they going to get it delivered to the customer's house? Who's going to do the delivery?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So again, I think the takeaway is that there's a silver lining, unfortunately, even in this, right? And the silver lining is that we have nothing but time to either learn a new skill or develop a new process. And when we're ready, right, we should be able to come out swinging. But if we're just sitting here shell-shocked, thinking that the business world will go back to normal once, we reopen, then we're in for a rude awakening. Ask yourself a simple question. You open tomorrow. Do you have enough masks in stock?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have gloves? Do you have a process to clean your car after each customer sits in it? Do you have a process where you actually take a pen and you give it to the customer and you never ask for it back? Do you have enough pens, right? Because would you want to touch my pen?
Mm-hmm.
Right? These are little things that you need to take into account, right? Because again, it's not going to be the same, right? And you can't come up with excuses.
And Max, to your point, the biggest companies in the world track behavior, right? They track buying habits. And that was prior to this. Behaviors and feelings and fear has changed. It's escalated. People are in a different place right now, right? Though it's going to take them 6 months of data to catch up to where we are right now. So think about exactly what Max is saying. You got to think about your process, write it out step by step. How are people going to feel? How am I going to react? I live in a 49-story building, right? And we have 4 elevators. And these elevators used to be super packed. Now you have people asking if it's okay to ride with you. It's like one elevator per person or per family or per couple. People are just doing things differently. And that's not going to all of a sudden change and come back. I don't walk outside with a mask on. It's not because I think I'm Superman. It just bothers me. Like, I don't like smelling my breath all day. That's my reason, right? But there are people out there that are going to continue to wear these masks, continue to want to wear gloves, hesitant on allowing people to sit in their car, serve them food, I mean, just so many things are changing. You got to take those feelings into consideration when you implement and launch your next process. So Max has 2 things for you here, and I want to emphasize those 2 things. He has the one I like the best is the bacteria, right? The antibacterial solution to put in these vehicles, right? It's basically like a fogger with antibacterial solution. It's the same type of solution that they use in operating rooms to cleanse, right? To get rid of bacteria when they're operating on someone.
And also it is EPA registered as a chemical that's effective in killing COVID-19, which is incredible, right? Because there are a lot of chemicals on the market, and some of them do certain things and some of them don't. This particular chemical, and that's why I am behind it, is actually effective in killing 99.9% of bacteria and viruses and microbes, including COVID-19. And also, it doesn't need to be mixed, so nobody can get hurt mixing chemicals, right? Because if God forbid your technician gets hurt mixing chemicals, you're going to have to report it to OSHA. You're going to open up a can of worms, and it's just not worth it. So this is already pre-mixed. It's green. It's EPA registered. Probably the best product on the market today. And the second product that we spoke about is the walkaway program. So the walkaway program is exactly like the Hyundais. Right, guys, and I'm telling you right now, the cost is $105. It cannot be sold to the customer. You put it on every car, and you turn it into a marketing campaign like Hyundai, and you say, hey, if you buy a car from our dealership, whatever the dealership is, and you have a life-changing event, you can walk away from this car and have no financial consequences. I think that's the key in this environment, to get people to agree to buy a car and then give them a car that has
security.
Right.
Give them the security and the confidence to know that if something changes, they have a way out. And that will definitely push people out. Any dealers on here, great strategy to implement. You could market it. 2 things there. The cleanest cars in the industry, and if something life-changing happens in your life, you can walk away from that vehicle. What sort of proof do they have to have? Like lost a job, they get ill?
You can lose a job. You can be, let's say, transferred overseas. That's a life-changing event. So they're, they qualify these events, but there's no gotcha. The idea is to really draw customers to the dealership so they can buy cars. And again, this program that Hyundai developed, and now we can market it to non-Hyundai dealerships, it only resonates with consumers in times like this, right? Because if I told you, Chris, this program is available 4 months ago, right, you probably wouldn't care, right? And most dealers wouldn't care. So, but again, when proverbial shit hits the fan, this is when we need this program, and it is available.
And once again, it goes back to you at any level can introduce something like this to your dealership. So if you're a sales consultant and you find people are hesitant, bring this to your general manager, bring it to your general sales manager, your finance director, bring it to the dealer principal to say, hey, look, I have an opportunity or solution for these people that don't want to buy because they're afraid. Could we at least schedule a call where they could walk through and explain to us really what this product entails? But Max just did a great job at explaining it. The antibacterial solution that can be put in the vehicle, safety, right? We got Richie Bello. How you doing, my man? Thank you for joining. Appreciate you showing up. We did a great live yesterday with Richie Bello. Auto Dealer News, Game Face Monday. I believe we're back. We'll be posting that in the future. Chris Richter has another. Yes, more built-in costs have ruined ability for salespeople to make money, not the dealer. You will now have clerks with iPads. Look, yes, for a very, very long time, dealerships and dealership owners have used things and products and packs to line their pockets with profit. But that is the bad way to see it, right? A lot of these dealers put certain packs in place as security measures, as cushioning, as backup in the event something happens. And I'll take it back to the last cash for clunkers back in 2008 when the market dropped, right? And the economy went to shit in the recession. A lot of dealerships got hurt because they were selling, and businesses in general, they were selling this. The economy, the recession hit. They came down to this. How do you cover the expenses? How do you cover the overhead? How do you cover the interest that they pay to keep this inventory in stock? They have to have a small nest egg to cover these things. But I do agree that some got greedy and did things. What we're speaking about, these products are not those. Add $105 to the cost for you to sell more cars. There's got to be a benefit, right? It's got to be risk reward. The reward has to be greater than the risk. If we're going to risk $105 for the reward of selling more cars, I think it's well worth it.
I also think that, Chris might be onto something, but honestly, I'd like to defend dealers. They're business owners, and like you said, there's a lot of risks and expenses, and they are entitled to have packs and whatever else because it's their business. Where we really should focus is the OEMs, right? It's the stair step. I think it's the stair step program, whether it's Nissan or any other manufacturer, that really destroyed gross profit. And really, transition salespeople from commission-based salespeople to, getting a minute of every deal. Because the dealer is chasing the factory money, right? And OEM, shame on them for introducing, these stair-step programs in the hopes of gaining market share. Because a stair-step program does two things. First, it triggers the dealer to engage in deceptive advertising because you need more people in your showroom to sell them, right? And second, it completely destroys the sales process, right? Because now when you come to a Nissan dealership, right, and the Nissan dealership is chasing stair step, they're not selling you the car. They're not building value in the product. They're just saying, hey, Chris, this Ultima right here today at $199 a month. Right? So they're just selling you the payment.
There's a third component to that, Max. It's the competition within the brand. So what you get in that scenario is a Nissan dealer competing and cutting the throat of the other Nissan dealer. And these stair-step programs originally were designed for competitive brand advantage, right? So if I'm a Nissan store, I'm trying to capture Toyota and Honda business. But now you have two Nissan dealerships at each other's throat. Both of them are much cheaper than the Toyota and the Honda guy, but they lost the value proposition. They're not selling value, they're selling price, right? So yeah, I agree with you. They got to get rid of these stair-step programs. They drive profits down. They force businesses to do the wrong thing at the wrong time. You get hooked on it. We artificially inflate our numbers. So if my objective is 200 and I got to get to 250, I'll get to 250. But what happens next year? That number is now 300. And then the following year, it's 350 till I get to the point where I exceed my capacity. You know, a dealership or a business will tap out eventually, right? That's what these programs do to them.
Right. And look at Nissan, you know, the brand value is completely decimated, right? It's probably perceived as a lesser vehicle than a Kia now by consumers, right? So there's, in the long term, you know, there's no upside, you know, and if you can exit the stair-step program, because nobody makes you be in it, right? It's up to the dealer to exit it and say, hey, maybe I will forego the factory money, but I will focus on my sales process. I will focus on building value. I will focus on bringing value, right? And you can survive. Because listen, if you have nothing to compete on except for the price, right? That's how you get your race to the bottom.
That's it. It's the old Daily News, New York Times, and Post method, right? It's like when I remember sitting in these meetings years and years ago, right? You would take the newspaper and see what your competitor, right, who was your own brand most of the time, was advertising a car for. So I was a Honda dealer at $99 a month. If someone was at 89, I went to 79. When they went to 79, I went to 69, 69, 59. And then all of a sudden, we don't charge you a car payment. We only charge you miles. And that's where the deceptive part comes in, right? These are all old school bad tactics. It's not necessary anymore. You could simply, back to your benefit, right? Take out your phone, make a nice post, make a nice video, making sure people are great, building that relationship. Maybe you could do business with them now, but I promise you, if you build value, you build a relationship, you can do business with them in the future. And that's how you have to focus your business. That's the business model that you have to adapt. And regardless of what level you're at, you have to bring a new skill into your business when things open back up. If not, your business won't survive, you won't survive, and you'll be looking for something else. And that'll be different too.
Right. I agree.
Any closing words, Max? So listen, we're an hour and 7 minutes. We're over our time, but I love speaking with you. It was an absolute pleasure having you. And we really got some really good engagement. Getting the opinions of people is important, you know, like listening to what you guys are saying is super important because it helps us create the strategy of what we should deliver you next. How can we help you? Right? We're not getting paid for doing this live. We're doing this because we believe we have some information that is useful. Whether it falls on deaf ears or not, it's really ultimately up to you.
Right. And I think the closing argument is this, right? You have to make sure that when the customer goes to your website, they should be able to put something in the shopping cart. I'm not saying they should completely check out, but they should be able to put a car in the shopping cart and put some F&I products on it. Right. And I'm willing to bet anything, right, that you pick a website of a dealership and we go to the website of your choice. We will not be able to do either of those things. We won't be able to put the car in the shopping cart, and we'll definitely won't be able to put any F&I products in the shopping cart. And unless we get to that point, it's a colossal waste of time.
Yep. So I want to address this one. Build value. A real walk around is a dead skill. False. And I'm gonna say this. Elise Kephart. I love this girl.
Yes.
I mean, so going back to 2011, I was more than that. 2010, I was introduced to Elise Kephart. She worked at a dealership. It's Sunshine Honda in California, right? She started these video walkarounds, and you don't have no idea how tremendous a video walkaround is. Look, you can't come see the car today. Great. I'm going to do a video walkaround, explain to you the features and benefits, right? Today, you can now take that one step further. I can go on to Facebook Live, or I can go to Messenger, right? Or do a live video or a video call with you and walk around that vehicle and show you everything you need to see about it, right? The truth is, you don't have to come into the store. And if you're in Florida, which is where Rick is from, Chris Richter is from, he's in sunny Florida. I love to go outside. I remember riding the golf carts with him, right? We'd be riding the golf carts around the dealership, just like, all right, we have nothing to do right now. Let's go ride a golf cart. Let's go upstairs. Let's go check inventory. Get out there and do that video walk around and send out a personal blast to 100 people, right? If you can get 50% of them, screw that. If you can get 10% of them to open up your video and watch it, that's 10 people you just touched. All it took was one click. How long will it take you to actually pick up the phone and call those 10 people? Man, you do the math, right? So there's tons of things that we could be doing as salespeople.
And Elise has been doing it for a long time before the virus, and she's very successful. So imagine how much more value this approach has now. You can't get me to go to a showroom to look at the car. No way. Why would I do that? In this environment, I don't know who's been in the car, right? I don't know if any of the dealership employees are sick.
So think about this, right? You think about Carvana. You don't like the car, 7 days, return it. Right? How many returns do you think they take? How many returns do you think they take? If I asked you a question, right, and this is old school method versus new school, well, we're not doing anything until we get a deposit. Why? What does the deposit do for you? Can a customer cancel and get their deposit back? 100%. So it's mentally, it's you have to convince you that you have a deal.
Right.
That's all you have to do.
I'll give you a perfect example. So there's Reichert Auto Group in Ohio. And Mr. Reichert is actually the chairman of NADA for this year. So you can go to their website, just Google Reichert Auto Group in Ohio. Every dealership that they own has a 3-day return policy and exchange. And, he did an interview and he said, yes, we have it available, but he says that he doesn't remember the last time somebody came back to actually take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. It just gives a customer, comfort, knowing that if, God forbid, something is not right, whether the car doesn't fit into the garage, right, or whatever else, right, they can go back and exchange it within 3 days. But most people, are not in business of buying and exchanging cars. They want to buy a car and move on with their lives, right? Nobody has the time or the or the aptitude to deal with it. So just make it available, right? And you're right, Carvana has 7 days, but you don't have to go to 7 days. Rycar does it for 3 days, and it's good enough.
You know what's crazy? Like, has anyone ever took the time to ask their customer under what circumstances would they like to cancel? If someone says, it's been posed to me, hey, do you have a cancellation policy? Well, under what circumstances would you like to cancel the vehicle? Well, if I got home and I didn't like the vehicle, well, let's go on an extended test drive, right? There's so many solutions for this, right? That we allow the obstacle, right? The minority situation to become the majority of the way we do things. I'd rather go with, hey, look, if my cancellation rate is super small and it's going to help me sell cars, boom, I'm in. It's simple, right? Because the give back is going to be less than the takeaway.
Exactly. And again, you turn this into a marketing campaign, right? And you say, hey, you come to my XYZ Toyota, right? We'll give you 3 days to exchange the vehicle, right? We'll give you a sanitized car. We'll let you walk away if you lose a job. That marketing addresses all the points, right? All the fear points that the customers have. Instead, most dealers are going to go back to the old school and say, well, my competitor's at $199, so I'm going to advertise at $179.
Right. One last thing, right? You look at the fitness industry, right? And you have tons of gyms that are closing. And you have people turning to digital platforms. You have people taking live fitness classes, whether it be one-on-one group fitness, right? They're finding an alternative. Like, the truth is, if I'm able to wake up at 6 a.m., go to my living room and work out in front of a virtual live class, why am I going to leave my house, get in my elevator, jump in my car, and drive, however far, half a mile, to go to the gym? I don't know who touched that machine. It's sweaty and disgusting in there. Then I have to come home, shower, change, and now go to work. I mean, all these things are changing. I'm not saying people are not going to go back to the gym, but less people will. My brother-in-law, last thing, sorry, I always have one last thing. My brother-in-law is in the he works at a hotel, right? So right now he's the director of food and beverage. He has been tasked with eliminating 50% of the tables in all of his dining rooms because they have to have, or they're going to have, that 6-foot distancing between tables, right? So some of my favorite restaurants, right? D'Alberto's on West 17th Street. It's a small place. It probably seats 50 people. You're going to tell me that the place is going to survive on 25?
No way.
It's not going to happen. So things are going to change, right? And you can't hope. You have to prepare.
Right. And funny that you mentioned gyms. Before we got on this call, I just canceled my gym membership and bought a Peloton.
Yeah, I have one. Great bike. But there are other ones out there. There's a company called Echelon, who's the competition, right? More affordable, but we have a Peloton.
But the point is that, I am the living proof, right, that the world is changing, right? I canceled my gym membership and I got a Peloton because I don't want to be in the environment where there's high risk of getting sick, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing is going to happen in automotive retail. You as a car dealer, right? You can convince yourself of anything. And you can say that, no, nothing's going to change. But people will find an alternative, right? And maybe they will either go to a dealer that's willing to sell the car online, or if they can't find a new car dealer who's willing to do it, they'll just go to Carvana, right? And they will buy a gently pre-owned 2-year-old, Toyota Camry instead of a new one. And have that touchless delivery that Carvana is already advertising on TV.
Listen, if you guys, we got a question here. Was when is our next broadcast? We gotta set that up, Max. We're gonna do this again. But for those of you out there, please hit the share button. I know we talked about a lot of things. I know it was pretty long. I always like to go back to them and listen to them and chop them up because there are some super major takeaways from all of what we spoke about today. Some apply, some don't apply, some fall on deaf ears. Some people are listening, right? Whoever you are out there, whatever you do for a living, wherever you are in the country, just put in the comment section. Let us know if you need anything. Max is tagged in this. Max, how do they get in contact with you?
So, guys, my cell phone number is 917-903-0312. You can call me anytime. My website is maxzanan.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. You can send me smoke signal.
I just put it down there, right? And
to get in touch with.
That's it. There's his number. It's up on this live. 917-903-0312. maxzanan.com. The perfect dealership and the art of science of running a dealership, regardless of what position you're in. It's definitely a time to start consuming, educating, acquiring new skills, right? If there's one thing in this book that you can take away and implement into your business or your life, I mean, you'll be that much better, right? You got to use the power of compounding. A little bit of information today goes a long way. I mean, the truth is, the more you learn, the less we know, right? Like, it just opens up so many doors, so many more possibilities. It's like, holy I'm going to give you an example, right? So I go to bed at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. People ask why, right? Because I'm speaking to people in India. So what am I speaking to people in India about, Max?
I don't know.
Some sort of development, right? Some sort of development, because they're ideas, right, that come into place, and you got to take those ideas and turn them into something. Come on, there's a whole new world out there, right? They're millionaires being born right now. Money is changing hands. It will continue to change hands. The people who can adapt will make it, right? It used to be the big companies that ate the small companies. It's now the fast ones beating all the small ones. That's all it is, right? Question is, where do you lie? What are you going to be looking for next? Because it's not one industry changing. It's the entire market.
That's right.
All right, my brother. Listen, it was an absolute pleasure having you. I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people enjoyed it, and we're going to do this again probably next week. All right, want to do Tuesday?
Yeah.
We'll do an earlier show. We'll do Tuesday at 11 a.m.
So,
all right, Tuesday 11 a.m. Max Zanan and I'm actually going to schedule it now so he could post it and we get more people on here. If you like what you heard, even just a little bit, hit the share button. You guys be great.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. See you later.